In 2008, I was living in California. Barack Obama was elected the very first black president on the same day that marriage was taken away from same-sex couples. Immediately, before Mr. Obama even had made his acceptance speech, the press blamed black people for the passage of Proposition 8, making it sound as if all black people and all queer people hated each other. Too many of us took the bait, treating each other with distrust in the months and years that followed. My transgender friends told me at the time that gender-normative, middle-class, white gay men and lesbians wouldn't suffer the fallout. They would. They would be treated as targets, gender outlaws. They said they would be depicted as perpetrators. I knew at the time they were right, so I wasn't surprised when you made trans people your enemy, or even that you would lie. And yet I was still shocked to hear you claim over and over again that boys were coming home from public schools having received sex change operations against their will. The real shock is that people believed you, or worse, didn't believe you, and said nothing. Trans people, by their very existence, are being blamed for Kamala Harris's defeat. Texas Democrat Party Chair Gilberto Hinojosa resigned 2 days after the election, blaming Ms. Harris's unwavering support of transgender people, including children and their parents. And I know that trans folk will suffer in the 4 years to come, as will Haitians and other immigrants, Puerto Ricans and Latin Americans. Women will suffer, especially those seeking abortions in some states, even as you pledge to protect them from themselves. I care about them, all of them, and I will show up when they need me. So you'll notice that I didn't congratulate you at the beginning of this letter as I did 8 years ago. The thing is, back then I genuinely hoped and thought it might be possible that you could be humbled by public office, the way Arnold Schwarzenegger was when he became governor of California. But now, in 2024, I know who you are. You've shown us all, again and again, exactly who you are. A lover of tyrants and dictators, a liar and a bully who thinks there are only two kinds of people in the world: people unflinchingly loyal to you and enemies. But in exit interviews with voters last week, there was one thing I kept hearing over and over again among people who voted for you. They don't like you. They chafe at your cruelty and self-aggrandizement, but their personal finances compel them to vote for you. They all talked about the price of eggs and gasoline. The disparity between the rich and poor has grown wider as the working classes are squeezed, and they're suffering. You appealed to them. You told them that you saw their pain in a way your opponent didn't, or wouldn't. If they want to be at all relevant, Ms. Harris and the Democratic Party are going to have to grapple with this scenario in the coming years. Gone are the days when they could safely assume that all working class people were on board with them. Democrats are going to have to learn to listen, to be less reliant on reason mixed with heart-tugging personal narratives of oppressed classes. They're going to have to learn to listen instead of talk. The Democratic Party is going to have to show up when it matters, not just talking about the oppressed, but actually doing something about oppression, including the oppression of the people who bear the bulk of the tax burden in this country, the working class, the middle class, many of whom think only a strong man can fix this mess. But one day, the people who held their noses and voted for you are going to realize that prices aren't coming down because the crisis actually is over. And they will turn on you. They may not fight you, but they won't support you either. unless you do something really ugly like enact any of the grosser provisions of Project 2025. Because for those voters, it really is all about the economy. Sitting presidents and their party never get elected during periods of high inflation. Even when they are blamed for the price gouging of megacorporations and industries deregulated by their predecessors. Every Monday morning quarterback knows that's why Harris failed. She's of the party presiding during high inflation. It's her own fault that she didn't address that issue better. You know, in 2016, there was one thing those political observers got right. Countless journalists said that Democrats took you literally, but not seriously, while Republicans took you seriously, but not literally. Their conclusion was that both sides should have taken you literally and seriously. Since then, Democrats have taken you literally and seriously. Maybe too seriously. When you say you want to put the Constitution on hold, Democrats take that literally and seriously. When you say you will enact mass deportation, Democrats take you literally and seriously. When you talk about rooting out the enemy within, Democrats take you literally and seriously. While most Republican voters seem to take you seriously as the only person who can fix the economy and the financial well-being of the people who support you, they seem to dismiss your more outlandish statements as figurative, hyperbole for the sake of making a point. I hope during this term, your second term, they're right. Of course, the people who worked side by side with you last time around, your cabinet members and other staff, they seem to take you literally and seriously. You've said you'll seek revenge on your opponents whom you consistently refer to as your enemies. You've threatened to investigate them, jail them, deport them, even when they're American born. My hope is that those bold statements were among your lies. So far, beginning with your acceptance speech, there have been no reports that I've come across of your referring to or planning the revenge you said you'd seek. As naive as it sounds, my hope was that after winning the popular vote and feeling sufficiently validated, you'd let go of vengeance seeking. But already, 12 days after the election, you are showing them they should have taken you seriously, taken your pledge seriously, that you would use your appointments to work against the charges of those agencies and work for your personal agenda, to root out and punish the enemy within. So let's just be clear. As a defender of democracy, I declare myself the enemy within. I know that I'm not the enemy of the United States. I love this country. I love democracy and our Constitution and the institutions that have provided for us, imperfect as they have been. I've always been willing to defend them to the death. If in your mind that makes me the enemy, I'm okay with that. Because I am the overeducated liberal minister who knows kindness and acceptance of children who don't fit into your gender binary. I am the husband of a Mexican-American man with student loan debts that will never be paid off because of you. I am the voter who is the child of immigrants. I am a white guy who will show up to prove that Black lives matter, even the ones who voted for you, even when you try to drive us apart. I am the person among millions who will do whatever possible to intervene when there is injustice that must not stand. Because I know, we know, that democracy is fragile. And we will not stand by if you seek the vengeance you claim to want. I'm the enemy within because I am a minister who understands that every leader on every scale, at every level, sets the tone of the culture for as long as they have power and beyond. I am not a perfect leader. Goodness knows this week alone I've made more mistakes than I can remember. But as a leader of people with diverse beliefs, I know that all of your words and all of your actions lead me to believe that you think you are the most consequential human being that has ever walked the planet, and anybody who disagrees with you has no value. So as I do my best to defend the powerless while leading a community of faith, peace, and actual freedom, I have a promise for you. I will not give you that power. I refuse to believe that you are that consequential. I won't be paralyzed by doomsday thinking. I won't lose sleep worrying about what might happen, so that when and if it does happen, I can be prepared to care for myself, my family, my neighbors, my country, everyone, whomever they voted for. I will act in solidarity with other leaders in theological liberal traditions, especially Unitarian Universalists, to resist authoritarianism, uphold justice, defend democracy, and protect the most vulnerable among us. And I won't be alone. In peace, Reverend Denis Paul. Please rise now as you are willing and able.